Brian, I will kick off with you as kind of an introduction. And what does Forix do, and why are you in e-commerce? Like, what got you into the game of e-com as you started?
We got into e-commerce quite a while back because, well, let me start with Forix. So we are a full dev design agency, but we specialize in e-commerce. More specifically, conversion rate optimization, which is it's a fancy way of saying we go find money. We go find money trapped in sites. If you want millions of more dollars out of the customers you already have, that's what we do. Marketing is a little bit expensive, as you've noticed across the board. But e-commerce is just kind of fascinating because it is more of a science than an art. And that's really what attracted us to it over the years.
You don't have emotions, you just want the science, right?
We're nerds. What do you want me to tell you?
And then Eric, you've been at Meta a long time. You've seen a lot
almost
of changes.
8 years, yeah.
Yeah, I would say that's a long time at
Yeah,
Meta.
I've survived.
You've survived
Yeah.
the Meta gauntlet to be here. And so what do you do at Meta?
I am on our agency team where I lead a team of agency partners focused on helping agencies grow. Specifically, we're very focused on the independent agency ecosystem that, agencies that are very performance focused like yourselves, helping you guys grow and help your clients grow. Also work with a bunch of performance creative agencies as well as creator agencies, but very much focused on helping the agencies and grow and support their clients' growth.
Okay, great. Man, I have so many questions because Meta is such a powerful influence in the marketing space. But I guess to start at a high level, you have more access to data than I do, I would hope. And so what have you seen from a strategic standpoint that brands have been doing, let's say, over the last 6 months through these kind of, I will just say, unprecedented times? I feel like I say that every year, though. Like I did definitely say that in 23, and I definitely said that in 24. But what are some of the techniques or what's winning right now on Meta that you've seen from a high level?
Yeah, I mean, so I think this year, perhaps more than almost any year in recent history, has been the fastest product evolution and product innovation velocity I've seen in a long time. So there is a new product for almost every type of client and every type of vertical. So there's products focused on value, products focused on incremental attribution, so really optimizing towards incrementality. There's products focused on higher quality leads, but there's all these different products that are happening across the ecosystem. But where advertisers are getting the best, where I would point advertisers to focus is on the basics right now, because there is a lot of volatility in the market, a lot of uncertainty. So making sure that you are focused on your signals, focused on measurement, and focused on creative is going to be where you're going to have the most bang for your buck right now. So on the signal side, so shout out to Triple Whale. They kind of covered this already for sure as well, but like a few years ago, it meant having your pixel set up. Now it's have pixel and CAPI set up. So making sure you have conversions API in place, passing high quality data back to us, because outcomes are only as good as the input. So making sure that you've got that buttoned up first. On the measurement front, split that into two, cross-channel measurement, again, Triple Whale. The really making sure that you have a good understanding of where Meta is driving value across your entire investment strategy. So you think about like search, or you think of other channels that are really good at capturing demand and intent. Meta's really good at generating demand and intent and discovery. So so I think if you have a really good Meta strategy, you're going to see more search volume, you're going to see lower CPCs. If you're selling on Amazon, you're going to see Meta driving a lot of incremental sales and halo impact to Amazon. So making sure you have a full understanding of how Meta is delivering impact across all your investment. And then within channel, really making sure that you have a testing philosophy. So doing a lot of leveraging our tools like conversion lift, A/B testing, search lift, all these different tools that we have in the toolkit to make sure that the strategies you have in place are effective and driving the most value. And then on the creative front, in the whirlwind right now, I don't know how many times AI was said today, but like AI is the foundation of everything that's happening around optimization. But creative is the single easiest lever that an advertiser has to get better outcomes. So we say this all the time, is like creative is the new targeting. Creative is what allows you to connect with customers. So making sure you have a diversity of creative that has different concepts, to make sure you're across all different placements to connect with as many people as possible and deliver your message. So volume, variety, and velocity of creative is like the most important thing on Meta right now.
Wow. That's a lot. I guess a couple points that stood out though. CAPI, very powerful. The conversions API, that's the API. If you haven't done that yet. Does standard website tracking power that well, or do we need to look at other tools to help that?
There is still a lot of value coming from like a standard pixel. So that's still going to deliver a significant amount of value, but it is not 100% consistent. So you're going to lose out because of changes in privacy changes and ecosystem changes and like Apple's ATT.
iOS.
So, yeah. So all of those things are going to cause you to lose the connectivity between conversion and exposure. So it essentially breaks the chain. So normally if you have a good CAPI setup where you're passing back all the right parameters, you'll see, 20, 30% improvement in overall efficiency and outcome. So
Okay, that is a key point. So 20 to 30% improvement on what you're tracking, because the conversions can still happen, but if Meta doesn't see the conversion, it can't continue to optimize for that. So
Exactly.
Inevitably, it's probably going to go the wrong direction over time.
Exactly. So yeah, again, the better input is going to lead to us to being optimized to the right outcomes.
Yeah. So if your tech stack is website, like Shopify, BigCommerce, and GA4, you don't have a solid CAPI strategy. I can't emphasize that enough. I've been on the stages multiple times in the last few months. Safari 26 ruins most of your tracking from iOS devices. You don't have UTM parameters being passed. So you can't see, oh, they clicked this campaign, UTM. I can see it in the URL. That does not get passed back to your tracking systems. You are losing data massively. And he just backed me up on that. And he has a better title, so you have to trust him, even if you didn't trust me. Okay, and I also, when I'm talking to brands about tracking, I usually advocate for filling from the bottom of the funnel up. Like if you're not capturing your brand terms, get those. Then you got to be hitting non-brand shopping maybe. Where's Aman? If he's still in here, we're going to be fixing that for you because he's not tackling that. And then it's like, okay, well, people don't generally search Meta for super awesome men's dress shirts. Like it's not yet a search engine that we pay attention to from a marketing standpoint. So you're finding people that aren't necessarily searching, but are probably wanting that product. And so that you're creating that demand. And so that creates an opportunity for this guy on stage over here, Brian, says, okay, we've got people that are seeing an ad, clicking it, and coming to a website, and they didn't know a few seconds ago that they wanted a shirt or socks or name the thing. That's definitely going to impact conversions. And how does the average website owner prepare his or her site for that type of traffic if they haven't done that already?
That's a very small question.
Yeah, just a simple one. I'm sure it's only a 10-second answer. Push this magic button.
Yeah, exactly. One of the fun things about all the sponsors here is the level of weapons they give you now, the amount of automation, because you're right, the people, they're going to come in whatever door they come in. But actually, you taught me more about this, Garo, than anybody else. Very few people stay on that route, right? We want it to be linear so badly. Do we want it to be linear? And it's never linear. It's just shy of pure chaos. And so by using some of those recommendation engines, by having really good dialed search, if the best we can do is bring them in off of Meta looking for product A, great. But if you know they're going to end up on product Z at some point, we just need to make sure all the other tools are pretty tight. And again, with tools like Klaviyo and recommendation engines, things like that, it's amazing what they can do. And they're leveraging all that other data that was collected on the site or through usage. A lot of what we try and do too is because all these tools are so great and there's so many to choose from, we're just trying to simplify things for the client. What is the scenario you're trying to win at? Okay, here's how we would stack that up. Where things are getting more blurry is we're actually pulling more of the social components onto the site itself. So let's just pretend that, well, actually, we don't have to pretend. My business partner came to me last week and said, I want to go fly fishing. You should buy a fly pole. Great. I don't own a fly pole. I go on to Meta. I find some influencer who tells me, this is the best cheap Amazon fly pole you can get that's still pretty decent. Okay, great. Some guy told me he's a fly fishing snob of some kind, so I trust his opinion, obviously. But he says, this is great. It's $60, buy it and go. I'm not going to do more research. I've just now gotten all the input I want. It's $60, click and go. So now what we're doing is we're actually pulling stuff like that onto the sites themselves, PDPs, catalog description pages, catalog landing pages, even home pages. And the more we can use these creative elements that Eric was talking about on the site itself, the more due diligence goes away. So really, we're using opinions and influencers to sell more than ever before. I wouldn't have said that 2 years ago, right? But
How are you pulling that into the site? Because it sounds simple, but then I know that I probably could not do that.
oh, no, well, there's a lot of tools, right, on Shopify or BigCommerce or any of those. So, shoppable Instagram is a very popular one. People love to share. We're usually just piping stuff in as it's tagged. So you said Iron Man might be here or is here. So
They may be here. I haven't seen them yet.
I was just talking with a shop and they sell a lot of Iron Man products, talking with them yesterday about it. And one of the things we're trying to figure out how to do is how do we take a lot of the photographs the users are generating, tag all the products to those so they can essentially buy that Jeep Wrangler kit. And so you still get all the power of the influencer, but now you can just buy the bundle if you want and spend 18 grand on a suspension kit for your Wrangler. But we're seeing that that's having a much faster decision cycle than what it used to be.
So you're putting a new product page together on the Shopify site based on what the influencer's done. So is that
Correct.
and that's an app, shoppable Instagram is an app that you've used to do that?
Sometimes they're apps, sometimes we have to customize something.
Okay.
But when I say custom, it's not wild. It's not a lot of additional work. It's mostly just getting someone so they can plug and play from the back end and the admin. But yeah, it's been great. And we're kind of seeing affiliate programs change in that regard too.
Yesterday, in my conversations, we were at dinner talking about how nervous some of the brands are at changing their meta campaigns because they don't want to reset them to go back into learning phases. Should they still be worried about that, or is there?
They should be worried about that.
Okay.
Yeah. That would be around making significant edits between, again, changing targeting, changing significant budget changes. But I think it's still very important to continue to refresh creative on a weekly, bi-weekly. You'll have to back into what the right cadence is. So based on the size of the audience, the number of conversions you have, how quickly ads are fatiguing and wearing out, you can essentially do the math to figure out what the right refresh schedule is. But that's something that needs to be done by every brand individually. It can't be, there's no like one size fits all.
So worry about resetting, but you have to test it on your own to figure out what your cadence is going to be and what you're testing. That sucks for me. I wanted a clear answer. How do I get influencers to respond to my DMs? They
Have a
don't.
good answer to. Yeah. What are you DMing them? I guess is the
Well,
question.
I want pictures. No. No, we have brands that want to work with influencers, and it's tough if you're a small brand to get in front of influencers and have them do anything with you. And so that's always a big challenge because it's so powerful to say, hey, I have brands that I'm working with or an influencer I'm working with, and I can dark post and do partnership ads and all this great stuff that seems to be this elusive, like Allbirds can do it because they're Allbirds, but I can't do it because I don't have a budget and nobody pays attention to me.
So there's multiple reasons why creator and influencer-led campaigns work. And some of it is, yes, you're borrowing their audience or you're able to leverage their authenticity and connection. But a lot of it is because creators are building creative that's social first, that doesn't cause banner blindness. Like people are connecting with that content. So they don't need to be a creator with 1 million followers. Like you could take somebody off the street with 2 followers, as long as they make good content and dark post that, and it should drive really strong outcomes. So I think it's really more where we're seeing the creator movement move towards is the creators are essentially a resource to help build out that creative engine that we were talking about.
Got it. So lower my expectations, like for who I'm reaching out to.
Maybe a little bit.
Okay. So if they're working with Allbirds, they're probably not going to work with me, but I can pick. So I didn't even think about that, honestly. Like, who cares if they have 100 followers if they have good images that I can use for an ad? Because if I can get traction with their UGC, I can scale that.
Yeah, and so if you brief in a whole bunch of creators, you're going to get a whole bunch of unique concepts, hooks, different looks and feels. So it's going to be it's just a really good way to like short circuit and cut the line to get to creative diversification.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So Brian, we've got more traffic now. I've got influencers doing stuff. And are there pre-built systems, or how do I like to call it CRI, like conversion rate improvement? Because if you don't have 50,000 visitors, you can't really do true CRO. There's a lot of argument around that, but whatever. You have small traffics. How do I take the best practices and ensure that I'm giving myself the best shot without having to break the bank?
Well, the good news is you don't need a tremendous amount of data in order to do a lot of CRO. So we probably set the cutoff around $1 million, $2 million bucks as far as revenue and traffic and that sort of a thing.
Per month, per year, per week?
Annually.
Okay.
It still gives you a good enough sample size. And so based on that, that still gives us some flows, some directions, and then we can start to pick it apart and say, okay, let's say we're getting a lot of action off of this new meta campaign that we're running, and we're putting them on this specific landing page. And the other cool thing too is with what you guys do at LP and what you do at Meta, these are guaranteed audiences, right? It's not like you're just throwing it out there in organic and hoping someone's going to stumble across the page, or hoping you rank well. And from December to now, it's probably saw a lot of people not rank well. But that's the fun part, is you're actually buying a guaranteed audience and eyeballs. They will get to that site. Now, will they buy something? That's a different scenario, right? That's where we typically step in. But again, you don't need that much data. Again, about $1 million a year, $2 million a year, you're working with enough to give you some good direction. And from there, we can find out, okay, are they coming to product pages, but they're not going to add to cart? Okay, well, we're not selling it well enough on the product pages to get them into the cart. Or are they adding to cart and then are they falling apart when they see the shipping price? Well, I mean, that's not my problem. Someone else is going to have to figure that one out. But we see a lot of either the top of the funnel problems, like I'm not getting people to product quickly enough, or mid funnel problems. That's where a lot of the issues tend to happen. And so, again, sometimes it's not that tough to fix some of these issues. If you're seeing high abandonment on the product pages, for example, well, let me just stare at a product page. I'll tell you within 30 seconds what might be causing the issue. Maybe it's a content problem. Maybe it's a delivery problem. Maybe it's I just couldn't find the button because it popped up when I scroll halfway down the page, right? Or there's an affirm link above it, and then there's 3 other links that take you to separate places to find out how to measure your foot size or something like that. So we're trying to be helpful, but we are our own worst enemy when we're designing. Not a lot of feedback coming in. So
I got it. It was great.
Yeah. But that's ultimately what we're trying to figure out, is just what are the main 2 or 3 causes of the problem. Again, start simple. It's not a big A/B testing scenario that has to unfold. Sometimes it's obvious.
But I think we're getting to a point too where less can be a lot more in the space of e-com. Like I think 2-3 years ago, it's like if you don't have every payment option on your checkout button on the page and they can't check out in 0.2 seconds, you're losing. And I'm like, well, now we don't have to have all Klarna, Affirm, PayPal Shop, ShopPay, and whatever. Like everyone went out of business that was trying to check out off the product page. So I think that's good. And I also think that something I have not advocated for in the past is looking at a competitor and believing they know what they're doing. I still don't think you should do that and believe that a competitor knows what they're doing just because they're spending money on an ad or something, whatever. But there are certain brands I think that you as an advertiser or brand can look at and say, that's worth testing. Like Amazon pages, for example, they have more data than anybody in this room ever will probably. They are optimized for conversion. That is the hands down greediest platform for a conversion I've ever seen. And that is worth testing. If you see it on an Amazon page, you're like, that might be worth testing. And so has anybody here ever worked with Lamps Plus? Still, it's been like 4 years I've been asking that question every time. Lamps Plus, if you click on a shopping ad of Google, I've probably spent $1 million of their dollars on Google clicks by doing this, but click on an ad, they have a separate feed that they do a completely separate landing page for shopping ads off of Google. So you click on Google, you don't go into a normal product page. They have those on the site built in. You go into a completely separate, like Bizarro world on Lamps Plus site, where at the top of the page, at least it was when I've checked the last few months, there's product listings at the top, because if you look for a floor lamp on Google and click on Lamps Plus, it takes you to that floor lamp page. Officially, you can buy that floor lamp, but it looks like a weird collection page where they're showing you all the other related floor lamps, because they know you're not buying that lamp. On average, you're not going to buy the one you click on. Like, Google marketers like us hate that, but it's true. And so when you're driving high funnel traffic, it's something to pay attention to, especially if you land to a product page. They may not want that. You may not have the size they want, especially if you're in fashion. I see this all the time on meta ads on fashion. You want the yellow dress. Turns out they only have it in, 5X small. And you're like, well, I'm a normal human and I need that. And so they'll have other successful advertisers usually have other products on that. And so that's one way to test things. We have 10 minutes, and I purposely kept it short because we have some brains on stage that can answer very specific questions to your sites. So any questions that was a quick one. Don?
What's the max level you would recommend scaling it up at, and over what period of time?
We typically recommend testing a 1.5x to start. And so essentially split test. If you're trying to like really scale up, I would recommend doing like an A/B test at normal spend and then at 1.5. See how that performs and see if you're able to maintain ROAS at a higher spend level. And then you could, kind of keep kind of that path going. Is something that we recommend, and we have a testing structure built around that.
1.5 is a 50% increase in spend?
Yeah, if you're saying you're trying to double spend, I would say maybe start with a 50% increase and go from there.
Okay, thank you.
And don't test other things while you're doing that. Like, silo your tests. Like, don't do creative and budget increase and all these things at once.
Yeah, so if you're doing an A/B test, you'd essentially keep everything else identical except for the budget.
And how do you A/B test budget splits? By area? Or
You can set up an experiment within Ads Manager and do, you could do it at the account, you could do it at the campaign, you could essentially split it out at the level at which you want to test it.
Okay, great.
See your DMs, can we just like get a look at your...
Yeah. Thankfully, I don't have a brand anymore, so I'm not DMing them, but I was like, it was always a frustration. You want to work with influencers, then they don't even respond. So what's the value of a DM if they don't respond?